We are at the conclusion now then. High tides. Could Henny have got it all wrong? The final stand will reveal all. High tide. They arrived once again at Trafalgar Lodge. Scave's men would be posted by now, but there was no sign of a soul. Doorbell? Bling!
Is, Mr. Appleton at home?
Yes, sir. Please, come in.
Our plan had been to walk straight into the dining room and by a sudden appearance waking the men that start of recognition, which would confirm my theory. But when I found myself in that neat hall, the place mastered me.
Who may I say is calling?
Richard Hannay.
If you could wait in the smoking room, I'll let Mr. Appleton know you're here.
Realizing my mistake, I pulled myself together and ran after the maid. I was too late.
Mr. Hannay? Did you wish to see me?
I think we have met before, and I guess you know my business.
The light in the room was dim, but so far as I could see their faces, they played a part of mystification very well.
Maybe. I haven't a very good memory, but I'm afraid you must tell me your errand, sir, for I really don't know it.
Well then, I have come to tell you that the game's up.
All the time I seemed to myself to be talking pure foolishness.
I have a warrant for the arrest of you three gentlemen.
Arrest? Arrest? Good God, what for?
He looked really shook.
For the murder
Shocked,
of
I should
Franklin
say.
Scudder in London on the 23rd day of last month.
I never heard the name before.
That was the Portland Place murder. I read about it. Good heavens. You must be mad, sir. Where do you come from?
Scotland Yard.
Go ahead and announce the confidence in me. I forced myself to play the game.
Don't get flustered, Uncle. It's all a ridiculous mistake. But these things happen sometimes, and we can easily set it right. It won't be hard to prove our innocence. I can show you that I was out the country on the 23rd of May, and Bob was in a nursing home. You were in London, but you can explain what you were doing.
Right, Percy. Of course, that's easy enough. The 23rd. That was the day after Agatha's wedding. Let me see, what was I doing? Came up in the morning from Woking and lunched at the club with Charlie Simons. Then, oh yes, I dined with the fishmongers. I remember, for the punch didn't agree with me and I was seedy next morning. Hang it all, there's the cigar box I brought back from the dinner.
After that, for a minute, there was an utter silence. The old man was staring at his plate and fumbling with a nut, a very model of innocent bewilderment.
I think, sir, you will see you are mistaken. We want to assist the law like all Englishmen, and we don't want Scotland Yard to be making fools of themselves. That so, Uncle?
Certainly, Bob.
The old fellow seemed to be recovering his voice.
Certainly. We'll do anything in our power to assist the authorities, but this is a bit too much. I can't get over it.
How Nellie will chuckle. She always said you would die of boredom because nothing ever happened to you. Now you've got it thick and strong.
It couldn't be acting. It was too confoundedly genuine.
By Joe, yes, just think of it. What a story to tell at the club. Really, Mr. Hannay, I suppose I should be angry to show my innocence, but it's too funny. I almost forgive you the fright you gave me. You looked so glum. I thought I might have been walking in my sleep and killing people.
To cover my confusion, I got up, walked to the door, and switched on the electric light. The sudden glare made me then blink, and I stood scanning the three faces. I made nothing of it. One was old and bald, one was stout, one was dark and thin. They seemed exactly what they professed to be. I could not have sworn to one of them. I could see nothing to connect them with the moorland desperados.
Well, are you reassured by your scrutiny, sir?
I couldn't find a word.
I hope you find it consistent with your duty to drop this ridiculous business. I make no complaint, but you see how annoying it must be to respectable people.
I shook my head.
Oh, Lord. This is a bit too thick.
Do you propose to march us off to the police station? That might be the best way out of it, but I suppose you won't be content with the local branch. I have the right to ask to see your warrant, but I don't wish to cast any aspersions upon you. You're only doing your duty. But you'll admit, it's horribly awkward. What do you propose to do?
For a moment I was very near damning myself for a fool and asking their pardon.
Meantime, I vote we have a game of bridge. It'll give Mr. Hannay time to think over things. And you know we've been wanting a fourth player. Do you play, sir?
I accepted as if it had been an ordinary invitation at the club.
Yes. Yes, I play.
I felt mesmerized by the whole place, by the air of obvious innocence, not innocence merely, but frank, honest bewilderment and concern in the three faces. We went into the smoking room where a card table was set up. I was offered things to smoke and drink. The three were talking easily, just the kind of slangy talk you would hear in any golf club house. I must have cut the round figure, sitting there knitting my brows with my eyes wandering. My partner was a young dark one. I play a fair-handed bridge, but I must have been ranked bad that night. They saw that they had got me puzzled, and that put them more than ever at their ease. I kept looking at the faces, but they conveyed nothing to me. It was not that they looked different, they were different. I clung desperately to the words of Peter Pienaar. Then it happened. It was the moment I remembered when I had stood before him in the moorland farm, with the pistol of his servants behind me. Some shadow lifted from my brain and was looking at the three men with full and absolute recognition. Bob. The dark Lee man, he was the murderer. Now I saw cruelty and ruthlessness, where before I had only seen good humor. His knife had skewered Scudder to the floor, and his kind had put the bullet in Carolides. Percy. The plump man's features seemed to dislimn and form again as I looked at him. He hadn't a face, only 100 masks that he could assume when he pleased. That chap must have been a superb actor. Perhaps he had been Lord Aloia of the night before. Perhaps not. It didn't matter. I wondered if he was the fellow that had first tracked Scudder and left his card on him. Scudder had said he lisped. I could imagine how the adoption of a lisp might add terror. Appleton. He was the pick of the lot. He was sheer brain, icy, cool, calculating, as ruthless as a steam hammer. Now that my eyes were open, I wondered where I had seen the benevolence. His jaw was like chilled steel. His eyes had the inhuman luminosity of a bird's. I went on playing, and every second a greater hate welled up in my heart.
Bob, look at the time. You better think about catching your train. Bob's got to go to town tonight.
The voice rang now as false as hell. I looked at the clock and it was nearly 10:30.
I'm afraid he must put off his journey.
Oh, damn. I thought you'd drop that rot. I simply got to go. You can have my address, and I'll give you any security you like.
No, you must stay.
I'll go bail for my nephew. That ought to content you, Mr. Hannay.
As I glanced at him, his eyelids fell in that hawk-like hood which fear had stamped on my memory. A pair of strong arms gripped me around the waist, covering the pockets in which a man might be expected to carry a pistol.
Get your hands off me! Schnell fahren! Das Boot! Das Boot!
A grappled old chap and the room seemed to fill with figures. I saw the plump one colored, but my eyes were all for the out of doors where Franz sped on over the road towards the rail entrance to the beach stairs. One man followed him, but he had no chance. I stood staring with my hands on the old boy's throat for such a time as a man might take to descend those steps to the sea. Suddenly my prisoner broke from me and flung himself on the wall. The stairway had been completely destroyed.
He is safe. You cannot follow in time. He's gone. He has triumphed. Der schwarze Stein ist in der Siegeskrone.
There was more in those eyes than any common triumph. They had been hooded like a bird of prey, and now they flamed with a hawk's pride. This man was more than a spy. In his foul way, he had been a patriot. The handcuffs clinked on his wrist. I said my last word to him.
I hope Franz will bear his triumph well. I ought to tell you that the Ariadne for the last hour has been in our hands.
Ta-da! The sailboat he was gonna flee on was taken over. Oh, there is something.
Incoming! Dismiss!
3 weeks later, as all the world knows, we went to war. I joined the new army the first week and, owing to my Matabele experience, got a captain's commission straight off. But I had done my best service, I think, before I put on khaki.
Congratulations, you have completed it for 9 steps. We hope you enjoyed playing this story as much as we did making it. Hopefully see you for our next digital adaptation. Yeah, that was an... enjoyed it. Completed all events.